Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a big honor to be invited here, and I'd like to be frankly, I'm a bit nervous because it's. I know Professor Beach since memorial time, at least we have known each other since 2000, 2001 approximately. But it is the first time I'll be speaking, I'll be giving a talk in front of him. You understand? Today I'm going to present you some thoughts about extractive industries and new spiritual landscapes in South Siberia and the Russian Federation. And you see the title, Where Do Spirits Go or Settle? We all know a lot about the so-called resource curse, and there exists lots of literature about indigenous communities, industrial companies, and the states, and how they are interrelated and how they communicate to each other, with each other, and about all the problems that arise from such contacts and such conflicts. And we all are trying to find any new language to describe all those situations, including if it should be understood only in one way, as a conflict, maybe not just like this. My first question, when I was trying to deal with such situation in my home country, actually in the area where I was born, in Kemerovo district, was the question whether three groups of stakeholders I've mentioned earlier are enough to explain conflicts over resource rent, or in other words, or if we go further, whether resource rent itself can be understood broader and not limited to subsurface material treasures. The region I'm going to speak about, Kemerovo region, is located deep in the southern part of Western Siberia and is fulfilled with coal and is, can you see? No. Strange. Why it doesn't move? Who can help? Press 5. My presentation doesn't move.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fine. At least, yeah. You see that coal, at least in Russia and surely in the former Soviet Union, has always been regarded as a resource allowing to maintain the economic power of the state, therefore playing an important role in the defense of the country. It was the language that we clearly understood, we all understood this language in the context of the Cold War especially. And coal, like oil, gradually became an independent substance, synonymous with the concept of life. It gave warmth in houses, it gave the opportunity to obtain high quality metal that could be used everywhere. It became a replacement of money and a measure of quality of life. Coal, like oil, has become the subject of resource relationships, often without people at all, or at least without indigenous populations. If the Khanty-Mansiysk okrug, very well known probably to all of you, is a place where lives the oil, not people, the oil. Then likewise the Kemerovo region is called Kuzbas, which means Kuznetsk coal basin. Coal, like oil, gave the opportunity not only to recreate places anew, but recreate the history and culture of those places, to create the identity of place and people living there. Involved in this was not only an impersonal state, but real participants of the processes of extraction of resource rent in a particular region, real people with real names. something wrong. I don't know why. I'm really sorry. I have beautiful pictures, and they don't move. Vladimir, can you help? I need this picture. Yeah.
Try to close the
I'm
other.
really sorry. Huh?
The picture changed now.
Ready.
Yeah, it works. Fantastic. Yeah, now you see the map, and the region is located absolutely in the southern part of Siberia, and we'll be speaking about the shores who live there, yellow shown here, and especially about this region in the lower part of the river called Mraz. The shores have around 13,000 people according to the last census of 2010. Okay. And no, you're trying to close. Yeah. Okay. Probably it's okay. And right now, 3/3 of the whole population that live in the cities and at local towns. But former this group, this group was mostly hunters and gatherers. You see beautiful scenes here, but the coal industry came to this region, and in the mid-60s there started coal industries to extract something from the earth, from the subsurface, good coal of really good quality. But anyway, by that time, you can see in the left column, there existed many indigenous settlements fulfilled with local population, with the shores, and they lived their own life, and they hunted, gathered, they did everything that they accepted as traditional. But then some 50 years later, exactly by this year, you can see that only one village exists and all other is destroyed or abandoned, closed, etc., etc. How it was? I'm going to show you only one example, which is shown here, the village of Kazas, that is also destroyed by this time. I visited it many times. I remember it very vividly. I was a young boy who was studying at Cameron State University, and it was in the beginning of the 80s. It was really a village fulfilled with life. But when I came in 2013, the village was quite empty, and even though there existed some streets with houses, half inhabited, half empty, it was difficult to survive here because have you been to Leningrad, St. Petersburg? If yes, you should remember Nevsky Prospect, where one side is marked with a table. At time of bombing, this side of the street is especially dangerous. The same, absolutely the same. This village was fulfilled with such announcements, like war announcements. July 12, 2013, from 2 till 5 o'clock, there will be conducted mass explosions. And the first signal will be a warning one, the second one will be military signal, And the third one, it's the end of explosions. And we could really see the results of such influence. All the windows were broken. The river, the local river, became small, very small and dirty, and people couldn't drink from this water any longer. Almost everything was closed. The club, medical assistance, they didn't have absolutely, they had nothing to survive people. And it was very easy for local industry to come and say, hey people, look, you live an awful life. We would like to help you. We can buy your land. You don't have any rights to your land. We can help you to organize all the papers. We can buy your houses and give you a really good price, and you can buy a good flat somewhere in the nearest town, etc., etc. And they dealt with each household separately, which helped them to conduct this terrible job very quickly, in 2, maybe in 3 years. 3 months later, I came to the village, and it was in such condition. Many houses, almost all of them, and the moonlight landscapes became very normal for this territory. Former full field with trees, with taiga, with mountains, and even villages that exist till now. They have almost the same landscape because you can see here it's very close to the existing village of Chuvashka, the Enetak mountain, Mother Mountain. Enetak is dark and skipped, almost doesn't exist. And here I would like to mention 2 citations from 2 different works. One belongs to Hugh Beach, who said once that while certain people at the dawn of time might have been the first to populate a tract of land, nowhere have they been first to populate a landscape, for they have filled it themselves with spirits, well in advance of their own arrival. And the third one, to the well-known Viveros de Castro, the world is inhabited by different sorts of subjects or persons, human and non-human, which apprehend reality from distinct points of view. And this means that in this land should have the master spirits. It's first, and most probably these spirits should somehow show their existence. They should speak probably. They can show themselves. Yeah. And it's especially good for the territory I'm speaking about Mountain Shoria. It's called generally. Because mountains became a very important part of the landscape, of the real life, and of the local cosmology. Mountain is a separate part of the world structure. Inside any significant mountain, there is a world of half sun, half moon, with palaces and rulers having lots of cattle and peoples who pay tribute to those rulers. Mountains connect all spheres of the world. Going up the mountain may lead you to the lower world. It's very easy. On the lay people's level, there existed beliefs in the mountain master spirits, amazing, mostly seen as beautiful women, sometimes as old men of small stature, who gave values sometimes in exchange for taking a hunter as a husband. In all cases, a mountain is inhabited and protected. And if so, we come here to the question: what happened to all those master spirits of local sacred mountains? Where did they go? All that is known in indigenous mythologies about the appearance and especially the thoughts, feelings, speech and behavior of animals, insects, plants, and also spirits and deities is revealed to us in narratives, mostly in folklore materials and actions, ritual practices of people. Therefore, in our case, we have to listen to the main groups of stakeholders and, if possible, observe their practices. And those three groups, as you can see here, are coal company, city administration, and local population. We understand that it is not possible to accept neither coal company nor city administration, and especially the local population, as something whole, as a unity that could express their feelings, their ideas in one voice, as if they were united and were thinking adequately. There are different groups of indigenous peoples, different groups of administration, because they could belong to different parties and so on. I was able to find some visible or somehow countable strategies that could be expressed openly. But in the beginning, all of them all those groups tend to discuss resources as something historically evident, possible, real. Mountains and rivers, and surely all the uncountable non-human beings, master spirits, as something impossible or simply unreal, were excluded from any discussion, absolutely. So mining company was trying to buy the land and houses from individuals and then destroyed them. The state was waiting in the beginning, and they were trying to let the situation go as it is. They were waiting how people would react, how mining company would pay their taxes, etc. But then the state decided to take a proactive approach, and they gave for free a piece of land for those people who lost their indigenous village kazas. They said them, okay, let's resettle. We will give you a new land, and you can build a new village. The villagers, they were trying to, in the beginning, to get the biggest sum of compensation in order to buy apartments in a town. Almost all of them did so, except of 5 families who don't have their houses in this area where the village existed. But the land belongs to them. And they say, we don't move any further. And they're trying to be active. They are sending letters to United Nations and other organizations trying to attract people to make the situation known to all the world. And there are some activists. In the beginning, they were trying to say, don't let them, foreigners, don't let them frighten and fool you. But then they somehow accepted the state's side, and they started to say, well, sell everything, we will build you a new village. 3 years ago, spirits, in my view, were quite silent, voiceless, I'd say. Even though people were trying to express their ideas about those spirits, like our spirits will help or save us, and people were trying to build sacred centers, and were trying to get a piece of land in order to build a new village. And they've conducted some shamanic rituals. And what is more, that 2 years later, someone from the administration and from local activists said that, well, if we can build a new village, we can resettle local spirits from one side to another side. And they invited, don't be surprised, not local, but Buryat shamans. It's something like, how to explain, as if the local shamans somewhere in Nepal who would try to resettle the local spirits from one side to another would invite shamans from Bolivia. It's approximately the same. Yeah. Absolutely different cultures and many thousand kilometers between those places. But okay, those shamans were invited and conducted ritual, got their salary, and said, yes, we conducted everything. It went smoothly, and the spirits were resettled. Everything is fine now. And I think that by that time nobody realized that spirits were not active. They didn't raise their voices, absolutely. Nobody asked what is his or her name of that spirit that was resettled. What is the name of the local spirits in a new place? Are they both satisfied now living together? And spirits were still voiceless. But 1 year later, it seemed to me that people have started to express the wishes that originally were somehow formulated by the local spirits in different languages. It's also very interesting which language people used in order to be understood. Understood by the company, understood by the state. Almost in all situations they've used some sort of colonial language, not their own, but the language they feel could help them, but it was wrong, in my opinion. So, first of all, it's a wrong place. The new place is said to be a sacred one, but Shor shaman woman conducts here a rite of purification of it as if it were dirt. The second, illegitimate resettlement. Nobody knew about this rite, people told me. So the ceremony was held in secret, and really nobody knew. A false rite. A Shor shaman from the source went by, nobody asked or invited him, checked the situation in the on the land where Kazas stood, where this village stood, and told us, spirits are still there. They have not left their place and are not going to leave it in the future. Another one, symmetrical response. Strengths against strengths. They, which means spirits, are going to take revenge on those who betrayed them as well as on those who destroyed their land. And the last one, they offend us, some sort of rhetoric of complaints. The mountains cry, or the spirits cry. And in 2015 and later in 2016, spirits became active. So people say. In 2 days after the rite of spirit resettlement has been conducted, a young man who participated in it has frozen to death, and people connected this with the wrong rite. In 2015, in March, it was a traditional holiday, Chalpaja, while conducting a rite, a bowl with sacrificial vodka cracked and vodka spilled on the ground as if someone has eagerly drunk it. Which means spirits are still there and they wanted to eat. This rite wasn't conducted for many years. Next year, this one, everything went smoothly because spirits waited for this rite. So people say. I have really constant communication with local people who are trying to defend their land, to get some compensation. They're speaking more about some sort of moral compensation because money doesn't help to buy them a new life, to save the life of the next generation and generations. They have lost almost everything. The land is empty. You've seen those moonlight landscapes. And what is more, they are not sure about the language which they should use and which they are trying to use. A quote from a letter dated back to July 20s. Spirit masters cannot be ignored and not taken into account. That's why people of Kazas village in their claims refer to the sacred mountain and the location of the spirit. The shores, like other indigenous peoples, feel a connection with spirits, with nature. According to my feelings and the feelings of the rest of Kazas villagers who have embarked on this path, we feel the spirits guide us. In this way, as the point beyond which there might not be such people as shores, or vice versa, who knows. I'm speaking about waking the shore people up. You know, it is difficult to say precisely about what we feel, not to seem crazy. People don't know how to express their feelings because they are afraid to be understood as crazy and not to be heard. Some concluding remarks. The first one, the phenomenon of resource rent cannot be reduced to the rent solely based on subsurface resources. Indigenous cosmology can play and still is playing a very important role as a resource. Secondly, at the same time, it is obvious, at least to me, that local cosmologies changed significantly. Some people believe that local spirits can be resettled, some not. Personal names of master spirits are forgotten. For many years, local spirits had no food, no ceremonies at all. Some people doesn't care about spirits. The third one. If you accept local spirits as a way of getting extra rent, we have to remember that spirits will tell us what we want and in a language that reflects our own vocabulary, which means is understandable to us. Means to indigenous peoples. And the last point is very crucial for indigenous peoples, for it can be the last and most serious argument in their struggle for their ancestral lands. I come here to the question I formulated in the very beginning, where do spirits resettle? Actually, it doesn't matter where do spirits resettle and whether they can or cannot be resettled at all, I think so. More important is the rejection of the use of the colonial language, the language of the majority, and an attempt to use people's own language, where mountains, rivers, trees, and other non-human beings as real, historical, and valuable would become a part of any discourse which seems to be important for local people. That is all for now, and I'll be thankful for your questions. And thank you for your attention.